Um, yeah, something that's new for me is this notion that control is an illusion, that you can actually control anything. And just this sense of nothing that I do I actually have any control of is very trippy. In the sense that whenever I direct my attention to doing something or even changing I have a habit or a tendency to do certain things, and I want to learn to do things differently, and that none of that is something that I'm actually doing or choosing or controlling. Is I don't know, it just is very counterintuitive, right? Like there is a sense, as you say, of there's something, somebody that has some free will. And also this sense of like there is no free will and there is no controlling. It seems to be like the opposite side of the story, as if like it's still sort of the dual, other opposite way of seeing it, like that there is no free will and there is no control. And so for me it's contemplating it like the other way, sort of how I understand you point to it. It also, at least how I understand it, it also seems dual to me in a way. So I don't know if you can comment on that.
So, do you know what I mean by, or do you have a sense of what I'm talking about when I say beingness that isn't somebody's beingness?
I think I have a sense, I'm not sure, that there's like, is that maybe what you could call presence also?
Yeah, maybe. But words are always
Yeah,
difficult to
okay, yeah.
pin things. I tend to use beingness at the moment. It always changes. So, how old are you, Nicholas?
35.
You're 35. So that the beingness is the same beingness that was there when you were 3, and you had no idea and no imagination of everything that you have ideas and
Yeah,
imagination about now. And it's the same beingness just before you go to sleep at night and the world is being forgotten. And just when you wake up and you can't remember yourself, there's always that same beingness. And maybe if you've ever taken drugs or drinking alcohol and you've knocked your sense of self out so much, but there's always that same aliveness, that
yeah,
same sense of being, no matter what the experience of the person is.
yeah,
And what happens is there's this like sticky glue that happens between that which is experienced, or the experienced, and the being and the experiencer. And the experienced and the experiencer are actually the same thing, but what seems to happen is this sticky glue comes up and says and claims certain things. So it claims being the body, it claims being the chooser, it claims past actions and past memories and future memories, future ideas, and it claims belongings and possessions. And it says that you are things, and most people believe that they are that person, this whole energy of the person, this thing that's experienced of a character of the body. But there's always been that beingness there prior to that. And out of that beingness appears the idea of free will and appears the idea of choice. But there's nobody actually choosing or having free will. It just appears from beingness. The mistake is, though, that people think that they've got free will, that they are somebody who exists separately and they've got free will, rather than there's an appearance of free will happening in boundlessness, happening in choicelessness, happening in freedom or space. So the mistake is that you are somebody that's choosing. You are somebody with free will, rather than there's something that's an experience. That's not the experiencer. There's actually no experiencer, but that's the person is an experience. So free will is an experience. It's not that somebody actually has free will. Choice is an experience. It's not that somebody actually has choice. Who has choice and where does choice come from? It's only somebody in imagined time that has choice and free will. But that imagined time is always happening in imagination. It's never an actuality. In the moment, where does free will and choice come from?
And it doesn't come from this sense of separation that is created. Like the opportunity to resist, in a way, sort of that what is happening, isn't that, or is it also an illusion of free will that I can separate and resist that, in a way? I don't know if it makes sense what I'm saying.
No, just say it again.
Well, the sense that maybe free will arises from choosing, or in a way, like in this time of being separate. In that separation, maybe as this idea of sense of self arises, there is an actual free will of being separate, in a way.
There's an appearance of free will, but it doesn't belong to anyone. So right now, so if you choose to pick up the comb or put your hand on the computer, where does that come from, that movement or that action or that choice?
Yeah, I've looked into that and it's pretty mysterious.
Yeah. The person, though, keeps saying it comes from time and it comes from me. But actually, in each moment, where is it coming from? So there's nothing wrong with the appearance of choice, there's nothing wrong with the appearance of free will, but it doesn't actually belong to anyone. It's actually appearing in boundless freedom and for nobody. So there's an appearance of it, and I don't mean to sound like I deny the appearance of free will and choice. So there's two things offered, and there's shall I have apple juice or orange juice? And there seems to be a choice that's made. But it's not actually somebody choosing. The mistake is that who you are is that one that's choosing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very trippy.
It is, isn't it? It's great. I love it. You begin to go to no man's land.
I'm looking at my hand and, it's like,
Who the hell moves that?
Don't move.
Yeah, but then suddenly a choice is made and the hand moves. But even so there's an appearance of a choice and the hand moves back. How the hell does the hand move? Just because a voice comes up and says move hand, which most of the time it doesn't come up and say move hand, but just because in this instant a voice says that, how the hell is the hand moving?
Yeah.
It's just moving. Oh, it's amazing. I love it. Everything you think you know begins to collapse.
Yeah, and I like this notion that this self is attached to where my sensation ends. So,
but your sensation doesn't end. There's no difference between feeling and the felt. It doesn't end. That's just an idea that you've been taught. Sensation doesn't end. All the idea that it ends at the edge of the body is just an idea. There's no difference between feeling and the felt, the smelling and the smelled, the seeing and the seer, the seeing and the seen.
I have a memory of that experience of touching something and being confused as to what side of that was me.
Yeah.
As if it was the table or it was my hand, that was me. And then realized, like, it's just that sensation that's produced by the skin and that surface.
And it also, needs the surface. Yeah. It's quite mind-boggling.
there's also maybe a sense of loss in letting go of the idea of control, in the sense that everything that I think that I can work for and get is not in my hands. But at the same time, there's like a relaxing. But for a part of me, it's sad to let go.
Yeah. But you never ever would have got anything anyway. You just believed you got something. You'd have only ever got a belief. Even if you get £1 million in the bank, it's still a belief.
Pretty good one.
So you're only sad to lose beliefs. Which is, of course, that's all it ever is. When you hate someone, or when you hate yourself, or when you're sad, well, not necessarily sad, but when there's a problem, it's always because of a belief. When there's a longing, it's always because of a belief that you have.
Yeah, like in I recently had a breakup, and I realized that a lot of the sadness and the pain was around the loss of the idea of the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of what could have been.
Yeah. You never needed that for your happiness, or that was never it. What you were looking for was what was happening. It just gave a higher experience, and then it also gave a lower experience when that went.
Yeah. The roller coaster.
Yeah, gave a higher experience. Yes, this is it, or this is going to lead to this, and then it gives the opposite when it goes, I lost it.
This actually brings me to another thing that I've been listening to some of your talks, and I remember reading from Osho, I think, who mentioned that sort of the ego falls when it's ready, like an apple from the tree, and sort of this notion that the seeker has to seek until everything is tried and nothing works. And before that it's not ready, etc., etc. But that sort of sounds also like a recipe for just encouraging the seeking. But it's...
Yeah, well, it's back to nature. Like when you look at nature, it always reflects it back. It's like it's like two trees talking to each other, and one losing its leaf and the other one saying, how did you lose your leaves? When am I going to lose my leaves? And the only answer is when you lose your leaves.
Yeah.
Like it's got nothing to do with you knowing or you understanding the process, but yet it's all moving perfectly.
Yeah, so there's nothing really that I can...
There's never been a you there. There's never been you there that exists. So the whole question is redundant. There's never been a you there that exists. There's just been the movement of things happening in boundlessness or in beingness.
I think
but doing will always happen because that's the nature of things, to move. But it was never ever you doing it and you figuring it out and you directing it. You were always the experience. Nicholas was always the experience, not the experiencer.
But the illusion of a separation, isn't that something that exists?
Oh God, I don't know. I don't know what exists and what doesn't.
It's so real, right? And there's, Well,
I just don't know. You get to these sort of things, and then it's like the mind implodes. What's actually happening? It's just you begin. What exists and what doesn't. Like all there is what is, and the more and more you question, the more and more you can't answer. Really, it sounds like I'm giving answers, but really I'm just trying to dislodge the question, or the idea that leads to the question.
Yeah, it's great. It's well, thanks, Lisa.
Oh, thanks, Nicholas. Lovely to speak to you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Take care.